up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tanzan, Jess, and Maggie bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 12.17, The Deadly Arts of Feng Shui, where we are covering the novel Blood Rites. My name is Tanzan, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello.
And Jess.
Now I want you to remember that no bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country.
Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling. Chapter 24. Dresden gets to the set and has Jake help him set up a counterspell throughout the building. Once they've finished, Harry makes a call to Murphy and finds out that Arturo is scheduled to get married shortly with no prenuptial in place. Harry's call is interrupted by a gun-toting Trixie.
So Harry's had his big revelation with Murphy. He suddenly realized there's a countdown, this thing is on a clock, they've got a sponsor, he ditches her after that was just right after their breakfast with Kincaid Hay, and goes jetting off to the soundstage. So shows up and figures like, hey, maybe Genosa's gonna look like crap, maybe other people had a rough night, because they were filming till almost midnight when he went off and had his other shenanigans. Apparently not. Genosa looks just fine, chipper. We know it's late enough because they went and had their breakfast and everything like that. So obviously, it's like Genosa's now after 10 a.m. or whatever. He's like, yeah, I can show up at the set. Not like you punks have to be here at 8.
I do like how the last chapter ended off so hopeful. He's like, holy shit, I figured it out. I gotta go, right?
Yeah.
And then you get into the just meat of this chapter. It just gets worse and worse and worse. Yikes, we jumped the gun on that one.
Yeah. As always, wait, Harry's got a solution? No, that can't be. We have 20 more chapters to go.
Easy.
Oh, yeah, no, look. So Genosa greets him, does his all European manly hug, kiss thing, looks fine in his tennis whites and whatever. And he's like, so it happened again last night, hey? And Harry's like, yeah. And he's like, who? Anari. And now Genosa's a little bit pissed. She's just a kid.
There's that great line, when kind men grow angry, things are about to change. I really liked that.
I like that, and it reminds me of Doctor Who.
I love that moment in Doctor Who.
That quote,
so
too. Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm angry, that's new. I'm really not sure what's going to happen now.
The anger of a good man is not a problem. Good men have too many rules.
Good men don't need rules. Today is not the day to find out why I have so many.
Not the Doctor Who quote that I was going to say, actually.
I think you were thinking of the same one I was.
Same episode when...
Demons run when a good man goes to war. Night will fall and drown the sun when a good man goes to war. Friendship dies and true love lies. Night will fall and the dark will rise when a good man goes to war. Demons run, but count the cost. The battle's won, but the child is lost.
Wakey, wakey.
That whole episode was so good.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, little Anari at 19, and Genosa's like, hey, I don't like the people who've been getting knocked off, but come on, now we're going down to what the fuck? Why is someone killing a 19-year-old girl because of something I did or whatever, right? So finds out that at least It was all good. He managed to save her. Do you know who's behind it? Not yet, but he's definitely getting closer. And more than business, he's discovered that this is definitely personal. Because again, just the way it's all going and
The nature of
the nature, the
vindictiveness.
vengefulness, the whatever, right? He's like, this is more than hands-off business, political kind of.
Not just money.
Not just money. So, okay, what can I do to help? And Harry's like, just get everything going like normal, another normal day. I'm going to putter around and do some crap and be the poorest production assistant ever that nobody's going to question. And it'll all be tickety-boo. So Genosa goes off to do his thing. Harry goes off to do his thing. And he's brought a little backpack of goodies with him. So he's got a 50-foot retractable chalk line, a mirror, a box of tin foil, half dozen candles. And he goes looking for some help and stumbles across Jake Guffey.
Who humors him, but like, did somebody spike your breakfast cereal with LSD or something? Like, what?
Right.
It's weird. I was making me Feng Shui the building with him.
Well, it's also funny because Jake apparently is trying way too hard to look way too nonchalant. And Harry's like, hey. And he's like, oh, what? I wasn't doing anything. I'm just. So even Jake's starting to get, oh, what the fuck is this whole, is the thing jinxed or what? But he's trying to just hang out casually. Meanwhile, people are disappearing in the middle of midnight shoots and
You don't know anything happened last night. Anari and Laura and Harry pieced out early, but that's fine.
But that's fine. That's okay.
no one died.
And he's a cool guy. Come on.
Yeah, he's just totally
He's just chill like
chilling.
that.
Yeah, it's totally just natural. He's fine. It's just another day on the set. And he's all like, I don't want to like insult your religion or anything. Harry's like, I'm not willing.
It's fine, man. Just come help me with some shit.
Yeah. He's like, all you got to do is hold a chalk line. He's like, fine. And then, yeah, it was actually kind of a cute thing. Hey, it's just like Feng Shui. And Harry's like, actually, this basically is that principle.
Well, yeah, essentially they go around the building drawing chalk lines that are basically just arrows. And he's drawing a big, massive spider web so that when it gets caught, it's forced to the center where Harry wants it and will be and can disperse it again, rather than just targeting whoever the hell it wants to target.
Exactly. Wherever it hits, he can now direct it along those lines. So,
A funnel with a slingshot at the end, I guess.
Yeah.
right.
As you said, yeah, a mirror. It'll go right back to whoever the
mirror.
hell sent it.
I think working along his whole magic circle principles and everything like that, right? Normally he draws himself a circle to block stuff out or keep stuff in or do this or that.
Still a circle, just a
another variation on that, another twist on the right is exactly. So I'm like, it is kind of a really interesting principle, You're like, oh, so this is how you would mark off the whole building and do the whole. And again, Harry and his not so permanent, but also not so, like a chalk line. And I'm like, those things are a pain in the ass. I've had to use them. They're kind of fun, but they're also kind of
chalk.
annoying. And you chalk everywhere, and you got to make sure it's full, and you got to shake it up again so it's actually on all the whole line. It's, yeah.
And Harry makes a point too. He's like, I really actually could not do this alone. I need someone to help me with the chalk line, and a dude is the best option here.
Yeah, because all this
but-
stuff is not directed at him exactly. He's not going
The
to.
women are all the targets so far.
Right.
Yeah, so he's not going to get his mojo all over the.
On the off chance you cut it close,
magic.
and you're standing right there in the middle of things.
Yeah.
Jake and Harry talk a little bit, and Jake confides that he thinks that Arturo has a new love based on his experience with his behavior. Ha ha.
Interesting.
Would have been nice to know that
what?
sooner.
What?
And Harry, I feel like Harry should have been able to glean the information on his own. If he paid a little bit more attention to his studies or knew just a little bit more about White Court vampires, the fact that Arturo wasn't falling all over Laura should have been, why not?
That's a good point.
Because I think as a reader, you're like, okay, he's not a creepy old man who's obsessed with this
Yeah.
super sexy employee of his, and he's a director and he's professional and he's not going to be all over her, right?
Yeah.
But Laura doesn't care about boundaries. The sex appeal vampirism goes to everybody.
So yeah, that is a bit of a clue, but again, for those of us at this point that are not super well versed in the White Court, it's a little bit subtle. You may or may not pick up on it right away. Also, I think Harry doesn't know Genosa from a hole in the wall before this, right? Thomas and stuff is friends, but, and Jake knows him well enough to be like, oh yeah, this is his this and that, right? And Harry doesn't have that
Familiarity with
the familiarity, and the background to know what he's like in his various, in love, out of love, whatever. So I'm like, part of me's like, yeah, I guess he would have nothing to go on that way to know what his behavior suggests, right? As far as we can see, Arturo's just being very normal, and it's not until you know these other things about him. And again, Harry's he's been working on not getting distracted by the super sex vampire. So again, maybe, because they don't focus a lot. Like, again, the book hasn't pointed out a lot of, like, Jake drooling all over her or, like, Bobby drooling all over her, right? So the fact that he hasn't made a big show of Arturo not drooling all over her, I'm like, you know, again, is it supposed to be Harry's just...
I see that. I just feel like in future books, you know, that's a thing to be like, who's not falling for Laura right now? I'm watching them.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
What's their whole shtick?
Yeah, no, and for fair, it does make sense. And again, something we become more aware of as we go, right? But I'm like, yeah, part of me is like, same thing, I've had that thought, but part of me is also like, I'm willing to cut him, I guess, a bit of slack, because he's had a lot.
He's made it very clear in this book. He knows shit about vampires. Whatever the hell he was
about
focusing
these
on.
ones. I was like, okay, he knows a fair bit about the blacks. You know, he's had a whole big thing with the it's the whites here that he's got a whole new.
But still, he's been quizzing Bob about every little thing. It's like, what were you researching exactly during that, like, year and a half in the hole?
How to avoid pizza box bombs.
He was trying to do vampire venom, right? I feel like that would have had a little bit more scope of research than just the venom. You could have just learned about vampires.
Yeah, but again, that's, you know, so much more focused on the reds that the whites.
The readers
really
weren't there, so
haven't
Harry
been.
didn't learn it.
Exactly. But yes, you're right. Whether he should or shouldn't have or whatever, he suddenly realized that maybe, yeah, Arturo's got some more going on. And then Bobby comes up.
Well, no, this does give motive, though, now.
Oh, yes, this gives another motive.
Arturo's got a new girl in the picture. No wonder all the girls are being picked off. Ex-wives are mad about that.
Maybe, we don't know. Who said anything about ex-wives? Huh.
Crazy. So strange. Who knows?
Weird.
So strange.
There's a difference in this world about being stupid and being intelligent. You are not one or the other. Okay, there's a middle ground. And this whole Bobby just not getting the going commando at all is like...
That was a touch much. I get him not knowing the whole round table thing, but you'd think there could have been a slightly subtler one that
especially because
would
you're
have gone
saying
over
it
his head.
out loud. It's
Yes.
one thing if it had been on paper, right? Or you're saying it as though it was a Knight of the Round Table and you're saying something along the effect of like, oh, Knight Commando, or, you know, but
Yeah.
the saying it right out loud to someone's face,
Going commando.
Right.
On a porn set, you'd think you would pick up on that. Yeah, but
Just really not that clever, I guess.
I don't know, maybe, but she just didn't want to, you know, make sure everyone could get the joke, you know. Sometimes you gotta,
Play up this guy's stupidity.
well, to the lowest common denominator too, you know, if you make it too...
the low-hanging fruit thing.
The low-hanging fruit thing, yeah. If you make it too clever, people might miss it, and then you've wasted a whole... I don't know. But yeah, I always felt that a little bit, too, that I was like...
A
it's
little up there.
A little bit, too. I'm like, I get he's all, like, distracted and whatever, and he's got stuff, but yeah.
Just being mean to the poor boy.
I'm like, unless there's got to be some... But see, it doesn't really... Because part of me is like, maybe you're not pronouncing it right. Maybe there is some other... But then the joke doesn't really work if you pronounce it too much another way anyways.
Oh, I imagine they said it to him more like, go on, or something like that, so he wouldn't pick up on
Go
it.
on.
Just trying to
Yeah.
smudge it a little bit, but still, come on, kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, like those round table guys. Okay, cool. And even the way Jay's like stiffen it up with a harder last name, heavier last name.
Bobby surprisingly apologizes to Harry. He asks the pair what they're doing. Feng Shui.
You know martial arts? Harry's reaction. This kid is an absolute gem. The straight lines he could. Oh. But yeah, it's funny how he's a little bit
Funny without knowing he's funny.
well, yeah. I'm like, we all live for. I've had a few people like that are just like, oh, you're just priceless. You have
Listen.
no idea how.
Props to Bobby where he can get him. He gave a genuine apology to Harry, okay?
Yeah.
He did. Harry still took him a minute because he's like, nobody ever actually sincerely apologizes to me. Oh, fuck. Yeah, okay, I guess I'll. But I like that too, yeah. I'm really not used to anybody actually.
What is this? I'm
Oh,
confused.
wait, what? He's actually, oh, shit, okay. So, yes, okay, their little spat is over. Bobby's got some pressure off. He's coming up with a name. He realizes he was being a big old douchebag. And Harry's like, keep fine. You're too funny and dumb to be mad at. So he goes off. So that's all he needs. So Jake goes off to get ready. Bobby goes off to get ready. Harry's like, alrighty, I got my thing all. Well, and even actually that, he talks about how he's setting it all up with the mirror and everything like that we mentioned. And Jake at first is like, wow, that's like a little bit harsh. And Harry's like, no, it's not really. They're going to send out good vibes. They get good vibe back. They want to send out some nasty bullshit. They're going to get their own nasty bullshit back. And you're like, you know what? Fair. It is kind of nasty because we know what's going around. But at the same time, you're right. Harry's not doing it to them. He's just sending it back. So exactly, you're essentially why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? It's like, it's going to be your own damn fault. It's going to come right back at you.
So do you think Bobby wanted to apologize on his own behalf? Or do you think like maybe Inari or something was like, you should work on this and go be a good person?
Honestly, I feel like it was more him because, and I'm willing to bet Inari's not on set today. She's at home nursing a broken arm and all this crazy batshit stuff that's going on in her head and her burned lips from, like, right? All of this is kind of a blur. She doesn't really know what the fuck is going on, and she's definitely at home with that broken arm. Papa Ray's not going to let her go running around. So I feel like, yeah, this maybe was more of a, because that's what Jake says before. He's like, well, he's under pressure. He's got to come up with his name and think about it. You know, you like this girl, but you're screwing other women all day, and so I think maybe it is a case of, I don't know if he necessarily would have gone and sought him out otherwise, but since he's kind of run into him here and now, and he has sort of like, okay, this is one thing done, you know, that maybe he did sort of legitimately be like, oh, I was kind of a dink and I'm sorry, and, you know, so.
So Harry calls up Murphy again. He's like, all right, it's been an hour. Let me update you. Have you gone through your shit? I gave you many, many tasks to do on my behalf. I hope you've done them.
She's got some pretty decent information for him that fills in a lot of blanks with that, you know, new information that he just conveniently got as well with Jake.
Gotta love all these cops with their, you know, resources and internets that they can use when your
The
little
internet.
friendly neighborhood wizard can't.
Crazy. So we essentially find out that Genosa's money is incredibly directed and controlled. There's some pretty specific specifications on where his money goes in the world.
Yes. All these lovely ex-wives that he's racked up have a trust fund set up that is, yeah, exactly, dictates, you know, how that is paid out and what they get and all that. And next of kin was his mother to look after that, but unfortunately she's recently died or whatever, so she can't do it anymore. He's got to update that. And the rest of it is all sunk into the company, right? Because what did they say? Like $4 million or something like that, I believe at one point is what we said he had somewhere around that. So
he's worth about $5 million, I think is what the number was.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and they get to keep drawing from it indefinitely, more or less, right? As long as he doesn't get a next of kin, there's no one to be assigned to the role. They're good to go.
And even that, right? Like it kind of makes you wonder because it's like, okay, well, obviously, you know, if all three of them, then presumably it started with the first ex-wife and she was getting her alimony, and then the second wife started getting alimony, and then Trixie started getting alimony. So it's like,
I like that he can just group them all into one trust fund.
Well, I mean, it does kind of make sense. Pay it all out of that account or whatever, right? That's your, I mean, that's normal for business, right? You got your benefits account and you got your...
Well, if they all sign the same sort of prenuptial agreement or something like that, but I imagine each next wife would be like, no way, you're paying her $1 million a year? I want $2 million a year. Like... try to go more and more and more, get slightly different changes.
Well, that
it's just like, nah, fine, just add me to your ex-wife group, it's fine.
Well,
like a payment plan.
Just
add me to that.
It depends to a certain degree. I mean, yeah, they may or may not have doing that. I'm not necessarily looking at they're all getting the exact same amount or whatever, but I'm like, I see having that one account and funds there set up to deal with that is what I mean. And then again, it maybe by the time Trixie comes along, but at the same time, I'm like, if you're some young porn starlet kind of a thing, you get all Twitter-pated with, you know, you may or may not know the details of his prior wives until you're in that club. So if he's got this prenup, you know what I mean? Like, again, you're like 18, 20, 25, whatever.
Especially if you're in love.
And you're in love. And he's like,
I love him so much.
Nope. Yeah, sweetie, if anything happens.
He's rich. I love him so much.
Well, yeah, but, you know, same thing. He's like, whatever, I'll pay you like $100,000 a year if we ever, you know, you're probably going to be like, oh, yeah. And then not realize like, oh, shit, you've got two other wives that are already getting $100,000 a year too. Man, I should have gone, right? So, but regardless of whatever is that, yes, he goes.
And Murphy's also managed to find some information that there is a fourth marriage license for next Thursday.
Oh, bing! And of course, gosh darn it, that terrible cheap fax paper. We don't know who it's for.
It smudged the one spot that could tell us who he's marrying.
Yeah, you can see that it's a marriage certificate. We can see the date, but we don't know who. And Harry's just trying to sip his coffee and take it all in. And so
this is my thing is, clearly we've got the motive now. Okay, people are mad about this next marriage. He's clearly ranking up. Jake said he's in his final stages of like butterflies and birds and wedding eyes and whatever the hell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how Jake quotes it. Yeah. But yeah, right. So while Harry was already going, yeah, this doesn't feel just like business anymore. Now here's like that ding, 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 ding. Yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely
information we've been waiting for.
And not just like, well, it seems likely that it might be them because they're ex-wives, but it does. So this is what I don't entirely get altogether. So I'm sorry, I am not familiar with the world of prenups and porn stars and the whole. If he had, so that's what I started to say before. It's obviously the subsequent wives didn't change. Because I know, okay, TV land and all this kind of stuff. If you're receiving alimony, you get it unless you get remarried and have somebody else sort of to take care of you, right? So Arturo getting married, just like with the previous ones. So Madge still got it when he married Lucille. Lucille and Madge still got it when he married Trixie. Lucille, Madge, and Trixie still got it, regardless of Arturo marrying Mrs. Genosa number 4. So why the fuck do they really care? I mean, again, whatever the agreement is, however much they're supposed to get, indefinitely or not. I mean, what indefinitely unless he blows all his money? Like, he'd go out 2 days after he gets divorced and spend all his money and be like, oh, well, I have no more alimony to pay you, right?
This is my question, is I assumed that the account just had like $4 million sitting in it. And when Mom was in charge of it, Mom's in charge of the $4 million, and they get to each take out like $100,000 a year or whatever as their alimony. It's got $4 million, okay?
Sure.
Whatever is the number to say.
Yeah.
And they get to take out $100,000 each. Well, if he keeps racking up ex-wives, that $4 million is going to go a lot faster with 10 ex-wives versus with just 3. So if you can stop him from keep collecting ex-wives, then there'll be that $4 million, regardless of if he goes and spends out the $4 million in his own account. The $4 million in the alimony account is still sitting at $4 million minus $100,000, minus $200,000, minus $300,000 a year.
I see what you're saying.
If it's minusing $10,000 a year or $100,000 a year, you're gonna run out of it in 5 years rather than 10 or 20 or 30.
So you suspect that it's going at a set amount that they get to draw, not that they each are entitled to.
That's what I was thinking it would be set at. Like, it's just whatever. As per your divorce, you had to set aside $1 million for these ladies. They get to take out like up to $100,000 a year. Because I don't know.
Yeah, like I get.
I've never been divorced. I don't know how it works. I just feel like the more ex-wives there are, the less money there is to go around.
And that maybe is how it goes, and maybe that makes sense. Part of me feels like there is. Again, to me, it would be like, you get $1 million. It's like, well, whether you take that $1 million in one lump sum or you take that $1 million, $100,000, once you've got $1 million, you've got $1 million. So if you have 6 more ex-wives that each get $1 million, that doesn't affect your $1 million?
Potentially.
But then, maybe what you're saying is maybe more right. But
then my secondary thing to that is that if he does remarry and they become next of kin or even has children with them who become next of kin, it doesn't matter that Mom is dead. There's now somebody else in charge of those accounts, not you.
Yeah.
Which could then still mess with things and change things and whatever.
Right. See, and I sort of took that whole thing as if he dies, then they no longer get anything, and all of it goes to the next of kin, which is the new wife. So it's not a matter of what's happening right now, but it's when he passes, they get nothing.
And I sort of thought of that too, but again, the way it just says that, it says like control of the account goes to. So again, if he has this trust that says he has to pay out to those, then again, it seems
the way it's phrased.
Well, but it means you could just kill him then before, again, like, okay, so Mom's dead. If you kill him right now, there's no next of kin to take that money. It all goes to them. So why wouldn't they
kill him now?
They would be,
That's my question.
Now they would be targeting Arturo as opposed
to killing Arturo. I don't understand why they're killing all the women, because but since she's dead, they get to keep drawing from it indefinitely. Why does that change from indefinitely, regardless of whether or not his next of kin is alive or not? That's the question.
Yeah.
Again, I would just kill Genosa then, and then, okay, all the money is allocated between the 3 ex-wives.
Yeah, plus whatever he's got tied up in the company. You think they can shut that down and bring that back into the loop? Like, this is where, I don't understand.
They just really care about producing porn too much to get rid of.
I don't know, and for you family lawyer types out there listening.
Potentially, and Madge, Madge does have all her shit tied up with his. There's their
invested
business
in
partner.
it, you know. But it just wonders
money's her
how
money's his
well,
money.
you just wonder how much, because again, if somebody else is controlling that account, right? So Arturo's got control of it. His mother would have sort of, right? I guess they must be able to put certain like limitations, or they can't stop them from having it. But I guess, you know, they get to make certain, and that's part of the other thing too about having somebody else in charge of it. Because again, it sounds like even if he gets remarried, that just means that new wife or whatever would, you know, do they get to say, oh, now you only get to take it out as, you know, $1,000 a month instead of $12,000 a year, or like, you know what I mean? Like, is
A
it
little bit free reign right now without a next of...
well, yeah, is it just that maybe whatever limitations or stipulations or whatever that they can do and be like, no, you know, instead of, yeah, it's all seems a little bit odd to me exactly how.
Well, I can't imagine that Arturo, while he's alive, right at this point in time, is allowing his ex-wives to go whole hog on that trust fund. Like,
No, but again, Arturo is
it has to do
portrayed
with
as
his death is really where it ends up.
yeah, but none of that is coming. I mean, again, it seems like he's indulgent in love, right? He likes women, and I don't think, again, in a super skeezy, womanizing kind of way, right? He's just one of these people that genuinely loves, which is why he keeps falling in love after all of this, and why he keeps getting married, right? So I feel that, and again, Trisha's kind of crazy, so he's like, whatever, just placate her is the easiest. Madge doesn't seem as loony, because again, she's stable enough, you know, that he would have stayed friends with her to be like, invest in the business, and, you know, so I'm like, again, I can see him being kind of indulgent, and I could see him not maybe having like a lot of rules and regulations, whereas somebody else, again, like a spiteful fourth wife, might be like, oh, you can now only take out increments $1,000, but they have to be $5 bills, and they can only be withdrawn on the 5th Tuesday of every month, and like, you know, like, right? Maybe it's shit like that, whereas Arturo is kind of a little bit like, yeah, no, it's fine, take it. You know, there's much broader thing, like, exactly, you get, you know, $100,000 a year, but it's up to you when and how and what you want to do with it and when you want to take it. And how, like, I don't know, but I feel that way, that Arturo would be, well, there would be something in place that he would be sort of looser with it. Whereas, yeah.
Well, and again, because he said all of his extra money goes to charity when he dies, and you don't know how much extra money that is or how it's divided between the alimony and the charities and whatnot. But I just Googled it now, and you only get indefinite alimony if you've been married for more than 20 years. Which I doubt is the fact for any of his wives, but definitely not two in the room.
Well, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, he couldn't have been married for more than 60 years. He's not that old.
You're right. You know, not that necessarily Jim Butcher really cared about that part of it, but technically, according to the law, you can only get alimony for 50% of the time of the marriage. So if you're married for 5 years, 2.5 years alimony.
Okay.
With the exception of over 20 years, in which case it's indefinite.
Yeah, so... yeah, exactly. It's all kind of weird and interesting, and I'm sure it makes sense somewhere. And it's one of these things where I'm like, yeah, I don't know if he did like the full research, and you're like, oh, he had to have, because authors do all this research and make sure everything is legit,
But
or
it doesn't
just
make
like
sense. The plot is better.
I
if it's
couldn't
all
be
in-
bothered. It was just fictional. We just made it up this way. Yeah,
Or maybe just Murphy and Harry don't get alimony, and they're like, yeah, sure, indefinite. Why not? That's the only
yeah, I
thing
don't
that
know,
makes sense. Yeah.
maybe so.
Who knows?
So yes, okay. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one that had some issues and questions about that.
It's all
'cause,
contract law. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, put very succinctly here by Murphy and Harry. No prenup number 4. Hello, new next of kin. Hello, motives. Hello, suspects.
Exactly. All of a sudden, a whole other can of worms.
Oh, right. That was the one other thing. Number 4 doesn't have a prenuptial agreement.
Yes.
Whereas 1, 2, and 3 did. So that's especially weird for the wives to be like, how dare this?
So she doesn't get just her 1 million or her 100 grand. She gets all the rest of it. And again, that could potentially be whatever else would go to charity is, well, now she's next of kin. There's no agreement to say whatever. She can do what she wants with that money. So we only get $1 million. She's going to get 4, you know.
Anyways, it's a nice place to wrap up their conversation, which is good.
Yes, and explain why all the women are being targeted and not
Specifically.
Arturo. And they still need him to make the money. They still need him to pad that account, I guess. But
Can't kill the moneymaker when he's in the middle of a big deal.
yeah, not somebody else that could come along and have, like you say, a much bigger piece of that pie.
You think really the race here is for him to have successful films before he can get married. But this idiot is like, I'm going to do both right now. And that's why it's like, well, we can either either mess with the marriage and the films, or mess with not the films and not the marriage. Kind of a tough spot for the suspects here, because, like, what are they supposed to choose?
What's the
We
higher
want you to make
motivation?
money on the film. We don't want you to get married.
Yeah.
Why must you do them both here at the same time?
Because he's just whimsical, though. He just goes by
Goes
the
with the
seat.
flow.
By the seat of his pants. Just wears the heart tells him, wears it on his sleeve. He can't help it that he just happened to fall in love.
Once you've been married
On a
3
movie
times,
set.
what's being married a 4th?
Well, yeah, right.
It's fun the first time, and the second, and the third.
Hey, you
As
know,
we've clearly seen, he's having a lot of fun.
you know what? You stick with what's familiar to you, right? You know, even when it's not working, we all fall into those ruts, and it's just hard to get out of them. So this is just what Arturo does. He meets someone
That's
on a
called
porn set,
serial monogamy.
right? You meet someone at work, you fall in love, you marry them.
Married for married's sake.
So bing, the light has come on. They figured out the main motive, the whatever. So many things are slotting into place, and boom, the door opens. And he looks up just in time to see a woman in lingerie and a very, very large gun.
Makes me laugh. What a great dress code at this place. Because when he went to go track down Jake, too, he was just wearing, like, boxers and a silk robe. And he's like, hey, you're with me today. And now Trixie's like, I gotta kill you, but I'm still wearing my outfit for the day.
Lara came running out in her lingerie.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, that is the dress code.
It is,
I mean,
yeah.
come on.
The place is well heated.
Just like nothing happens when people are wearing jeans.
Well-
Fucking Giselle was in the shower, like,
I mean, to your point, it's probably not all that well heated because A, you're going to be working up a lot of energy, so you wouldn't want the place to be too hot to start with. And secondly, I'm thinking just a slightly cool environment is also probably beneficial for your production value for all these women. So, you know, your nipples will stick out and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, Jessica's looking confused.
I knew where you were going.
Yeah, you know where I was going, Jessica. Yeah, you know, I'm like, yeah, so thinking it can't necessarily.
I'm not in the mood when I'm cold.
No, not frozen, but just cool, because you're gonna be working up that heat. But regardless, yes, skimpy lingerie, very large gun, finds the end of the phone, rips it out of the wall, and says into a cell phone, "I've got him."
We got him,
He
boys.
sat there holding a dead phone in one hand, warm coffee in the other, and said, "Hello, Trixie." Well, boom, there's a surprise. I didn't see that coming. What? It's the ex-wife?
Okay, so you're watching a horror movie, and you're calling the cops, and the line goes dead, and the cops are always like, that was weird, and they hang up, and they're like, oh, well, anyways, moving on from that. Anything, you go to call your mom or your best friend, and the lines go dead, and everyone's like, weird, they just hung up, and they're like,
Like,
who
oh,
cares?
she went through that dip and...
Right?
He is talking to Murphy, who knows.
But here's my thing, is that then you watch those movies where they're like a little bit of a trope against scary movies, and it's like, oh my god, you actually got here in time. It's like, yeah, man, your phone cut out in the middle of a conversation. That was weird. I had to show up immediately and see that you were okay, right? And it's like the big joke is that they don't get murdered because your friends
Yeah.
are like actually like
Competent?
competent, right? But in the Dresden files, it's 100% fully like, yeah, magic just turns off cell phones. We came to the natural end of our conversation anyways, and Murphy's just like, yeah, whatever, he's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
Who cares? And we just had the blowgun dart thing anyways when there was magic in the air and it made the phone crackle for a second and Murphy's like, what's going on in there? And
Well,
then,
that-
like one day later Murphy's like, yeah, what the fuck that guy.
That wasn't really the magic because it was just a blow dart. It wasn't, but it was just the fact that he stops and she's like, Harry, because he like walks away and isn't, and she's like, what's going on? Are you still there? And then he finally has to come back and be like, oh yeah, I'm fine.
He tried to kill me.
But
I
yeah,
do think
exactly.
it's funny that
It's-
this one is like, no, why would Murphy be worried at all?
Yeah.
It came to a natural, it's nice. Trixie did wait for them to come to a natural end of their conversation, which is probably just coincidence, but it's also just smart.
See, people, this is why, all that movies and books where people just don't say goodbye and stuff at the end. See, this is why, because then the conversation is over, right? This is why normal people wait for that moment and have that.
Say goodbye so you
can't-
know your friend wasn't murdered while you were on phone with them.
Exactly,
Hi, I love you. No, you hang up first. No, you. It's a safety mechanism.
Exactly. So, yeah, if you just constantly say a sentence and then disappear, okay, I guess
So
we're
if
done.
you're that asshole who just hangs up on your friends when you're done talking without saying goodbye,
One
and
day
they
you
call
will-
a wellness check on you, you asked for it.
Or if they don't,
You act for it.
Yeah. It's your fault you ended up dead in a ditch. Yeah, boom, boom, boom.
This concludes our episode 12.17, The Deadly Arts of Feng Shui. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowerambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.